Okay, what's up, everybody? I just finished reading Stephen King's Shawshank Redemption. And I must say, I get the hype. This is the first Stephen King book I've ever read, and it was delectable. It's one of his short novels. It's only got 107, I think 108 pages. 109 pages. And oh my gosh, I cannot stop thinking about Andy Dufresne. His character, his willingness to put up with so much crap. So I want to sit down and talk about my thoughts. I finished reading the book. It took me not very long. I just waited a long time to finish it. I was reading there tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. As soon as I had been like 10 pages into this, and I paused on it for a second. So it took me a little bit longer than it probably should have, but I'm glad I finished it. I get the Stephen King. I get why everybody loves him. I get why this short story got made into such a great movie. I'd seen the movie before, incredible, and rewatched it again. There are some things that are a little bit different in the book than are in the movie. Still a great watch, great read. But one of the biggest things, and one of the reasons why I cannot get Andy Dufresne out of my mind, is his relationship with Red, right? So if you don't know the story follows. He is kind of the narrator. I love how Stephen King makes it like Red is the one writing this story out, and he's written it all out on pen and paper. That's a really cool aspect of the writing in this book. So Red is giving us his perspective of this, about how he's been in jail for a really long time, about how he's seen everything, and he's somebody that can get anything for you. He can smuggle anything into the jail for you. And in comes this new prisoner named Andy Dufresne, who is unlike any other prisoner they know. There's something different about him, and he doesn't really know, and it takes him a while to sort of build a relationship with Andy, but even from far away, he could always tell that he's different. He could always tell that he walks almost to his own drum. And one of the things that Andy goes and asks Red for is a rock hammer. He is like a rock collector, and he chisels rocks, and that is a thing that he wants. And so there's like this great conversation with Red telling him, like, that seems like a thing that if you're trying to kill somebody or you're trying to do something, like, it seems like a weapon that you want. And he's like, no. It's a great conversation. But the whole time, again, Andy is so different. He carries around his sort of innocence, his sort of like innocence, not only in the crime, but also in his life. He is a banker. He was rich. He came from money, and he finds himself in prison. And Red can just, as well as the reader, us, can just see that he kind of has this joy about him, I guess, in a difficult situation in prison. He has this hope. It just seems so positive. He does things for the prisoners that no one else would. There's this incredible scene where they're working on the roof of the jail, and because he is a banker, he can work around taxes for the guards, and he figures it out for them. And he's like, just get us beers. And it just talks about this really cool moment where this innocent dude is willing to do things for others. Andy Dufresne builds and has an incredible library. It talks about that he would write to the senators every week until they finally got sick of him and sent money and books. And I just can't stop thinking about the fact of how can I be an Andy Dufresne? Not that I'm in prison, but sort of this understanding that I got, or this thing that I can't brush away, is that we are all in prison together, quote unquote, life. And most of us, the most famous quote of the book, we either get busy living or we get busy dying. And I think if I can say I've been busy dying, and I think one of the cool things about this book, and obviously about literature and about stories and about books, is that they have this way of creeping into our minds and our hearts to shake something in us that somebody just telling us something straightforward wouldn't. Cormac McCarthy talks about how a good writer, what he's doing is writing to the subconscious, and stories have this way of like finding this crevice in our hearts and in our minds to slowly dig their way to tell us what they're trying to tell us. And it isn't like Stephen King is trying to like write this like, I don't know, Bible story, but I can't help but just continue to think of how can I be an Andy Dufresne for other people? How can I continue to help other people have hope in our quote unquote prison in life and our quote unquote like just being stuck in the thing. One of the things that Red says is that like when prisoners get freed, they're so used to being incarcerated that they either find their way back in jail or can't figure out life. And isn't that true in all situations? You know, high school, college, friends that, you know, I grew up in a small town, and friends that leave and can't make it or can't figure it out. Same thing in college. You get so bogged down in this thinking, and everybody thinks the same and acts the same. And then you go out into the real world and you really can't handle it. And what would it look like to be someone that is an Andy Dufresne for others, that helps them continue to fight for hope, continue to fight for joy? And I can't stop thinking about that. And even though this was a small book about prisoners and a poster of Rita Hayworth, I can't stop thinking about how can I be an Andy Dufresne for other people? Give this book a great 4 out of 5 stars. I feel like I really, really liked it a lot. Maybe it also had to do with the fact that I watched the movie soon after reading the book, and obviously the movie's great. But yeah, Stephen King's Rita Hayworth and Shawshank's Redemption. If you have not read it, please read it. This is my first Stephen King book. Hopefully many, many more to come. I lived near Galveston, Texas. That's why you see that. I'm at my parents' house because we left our house and there's been a hurricane here. So this has been a cool thing to get our minds off of that. So yeah, Stephen King, Rita Hayworth, and Shawshank's Redemption. If you've read it, let me know your thoughts. Let me know any other Stephen King book I should read. I think I want to read The Body Next and Misery. But I'm currently about halfway done with, Small Mercies? And, this has been David from Arm with a Mind. Love this book. Keep on reading, brothers.